What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I didn't do an intro when I recorded the video, so I'm doing this at the time of editing. But basically, this is my step-by-step guide on how to install a STARLIGHT kit in your headliner. I'll be doing it on a 2004 GMC Sierra. You might drive something different, but it shouldn't change any of the steps that you're gonna have to take to put this in. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get into it. Alright, so here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what my headliner looks like. It comes tan stock. What we did was we pulled the tan off, redid it in a nice black, just kind of a stock look. I didn't want suede or anything like that. It's not really my style. But yeah, here we go. So it's just sitting on a roller right now. I've got my new carpet on top of the roller so that I can flip this over and it'll be protected. Won't be scratching up against the wood or anything. But headliner's fully refinished. All I need to do is cut a few holes for handles and stuff like that. There's a few more holes that have to be cut. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna flip this over, cut those holes, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I've got all my holes for my handles and everything cut. All these pieces, I am deleting my visors completely. I don't want them in the front. So we're leaving these for now. I'm gonna be filling this with a proper foam or a filler of some sort yet. I haven't decided how I'm gonna do that. But the next part I want to do is I'm going to take my Sharpie here and I'm going to mark out all of these foam pieces. I'm going to mark out the perfect edges. I'm going to mark each one, label them, take pictures, make sure I know what's what, and then I'm going to pull all of these off. I've already just popped this one off real quick. It's just glue, so all we're going to do is pull all those off. We're going to lay the optics under them, and then we'll put them back over. We'll just re-glue them, glue them back on. It'll be pretty simple. So that's my next step, and then we'll move on. Okay, so in the video, you guys are going to see that I remove these foam pieces right here. I'm finding that it's a bit of a pain in the ass. It might have been easier just to drill the holes, or poke the holes through the top of them, rather than try to get them back on. Because now what I've got to do is I've got to take all of these, I've got to bend each one down and over, and lay it down flat, get it glued so they're all running flat. Then I've got to put my new pieces on, glue my new pieces down. It seems to be a bit of a pain in the ass, so it might be easier for you guys just to leave them on and then poke your holes through. But that's what the video is for. I'm here to test out the theories, and clearly I think I went the wrong way with this one, so that's my suggestion. That's up to you guys on how you think you want to do it, but learn the hard way, right? Alright, now before we go any further on how we're going to do this, I just want to show you guys the kit. So this is an 1100 STARLIGHT kit from Adrenaline Off-Road. These are my lighting sponsors. They've been used for almost everything of my lighting other than pods and light bars. So they're my rock light company, my wheel ring company, and they're sponsoring the STARLIGHT kit. This is an 1100 piece STARLIGHT kit, so here's all of your strands. You'll see in a lot of videos that this piece you have to put on yourself. It comes pre-built with this kit. They already send it pre-built. This is your motor with all of the lighting. And right in here, you can see this piece right here. This spins, and this is what creates the twinkling effect. This piece will spin right here, and it'll only catch little pieces of all the fibers. And then obviously just your wiring. It's super straightforward to install, guys. Like, it's other than this, like, wiring and setting things up is super easy. It's just the time consuming part of it, doing it in the headliner. But yeah, I'll take you guys on to the next step and we'll get into it. Okay, so I've got all my foam pieces pulled off and labeled, numbered, so I know how everything goes back together, nice and simple. And then how I'm doing this is I'm gonna sectionalize it into 4 pieces. So there's 4 sections. All I did was cut it in half one way, cut it in half the other way, find the center, and then draw a line right across both ways. And that leaves me with 275 in each panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Sharpie and I'm going to count. I'm going to draw 275 dots in this area, that whole piece, move to the next one. 275 dots with the Sharpie in this one, so on and so forth. I'm going to fill the whole thing, have it all marked out, and then you have all of your dots to follow your fibers and put them all in and make your holes. And then you're off to the races. And then it's easy to find them when you're gluing too, because if you just poke holes and then you lay them in, it's going to be hard to chase each one down. With the Sharpie, you're going to be able to see each hole. So yeah. All right, so I've got one panel down, 1/4 section, 275 dots counted in my head. Hopefully I didn't fuck that up somehow, which I don't think I did. I was actually very focused. So basically just took my Sharpie, I started in a corner and just worked my way out, and I think I got to like 175 and I had like a general area covered, and then I just started filling holes, filling open gaps, kind of like working my way around, and then got up to 275. Now all I'm gonna do is move on to the next section, do the same thing, next section, same thing, next section, same thing. So I'll throw it back on a time lapse and you guys can watch it come together. So now that we've got all that done, we're gonna go ahead and just start poking holes through each one. What I'm gonna do before I start poking the holes is I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna organize these into 4 different bundles for each section. So I'm gonna hand count every single one of these and get 275, wrap it in tape, do another 275, wrap it in tape. That way I know how many I have and I can kind of stretch them out and spread them properly, instead of just having kind of a rat's nest that's going to be a pain in my ass as I install it. So I'm going to go ahead, kind of bundle them up like that, and then we'll get to poking holes. What I have to poke holes is just a big old safety pin. I think pretty well anything that's pokey and that's the same thickness as this is going to work. So I already tested this out, it works fine. So yeah, we'll get into it. Okay, so now I've got them all, hand counted everything. They're all in 4 separate bundles. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with one bundle in 1/4, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna poke a hole. I'm gonna shove it through right away, because I feel like if you poke the holes and then you get lost in which ones are poked and which ones are shoved, it's gonna be a bit of a shit show. So the game plan is to poke a hole and push it through. I'm not sure if that's going to be the best way. We'll see how it works, and then we'll see if I change it. Yeah, so I'll throw it on time lapse. I'll just start poking holes, sliding little strands through, and we'll see how that goes for the first one. Okay, so it's the next day, and last night I put the camera on time lapse and it died during the time lapse, so I'm not sure if it captured any of that. If it did, you probably saw it. If it didn't, you're gonna see some anyway. But here's where we're at right now. By the way, this is going to turn into a bit of a rat's nest up here, and it's gonna look a little crazy. But I'm just starting to poke all my holes. I'm feeding all these through. I don't know if this is picking them up that well. Got a bunch through, and just pulling long sections down. I've got a lot of excess that's going to be in the roof anyway, so I'm pulling lots of length. And then what we'll end up doing after we've got all of these filled is we'll come under and we'll clip them nice and flush with the headliner up here. But yeah, that's where we're at for now. We're going to go ahead, toss this back on a time lapse, and keep at it. Okay, so now we got the first 1/4 in. Everything's poked and put through. All of my lines are through. I pulled these ones extra long because this is the closest corner to where my mainline feed is going to come out. So it's going to come right down here. So I pulled these ones extra long just because I'll have a little bit less excess up top that way. I'll leave this one and this one a little bit shorter, and then this one's probably going to be a little bit shorter as well. But yeah, just allows for less excess up top. I'll show you guys the best way I find to poke the holes. So I've got a safety pin here. Basically what I'm doing is I'll just poke it through. I'll find my mark, poke it through. I'll wiggle it around like this, and it kind of just opens up the top. I'll just run it up and down a couple times like that, and then it should slide right on through. It's been pretty easy for me. And then you just reach your hand underneath, grab it, pull it out, and move on to the next one. It's a bit of a tedious process, but I don't mind it. It's not too bad, and it's definitely worth the work. Like, it looks awesome. So yeah, gonna move on to the next quarter and show you guys the progress. Alright guys, so we're back. Third day working on this. The first day wasn't really much, it was just a couple hours, but last night pulled a bit of a late one. I was here till 4:30 in the morning, but we've got 3 sections done now. Everything's pulled. There's a lot going on down here now, that's for sure. So we've got one more section to pull, and then it'll be on to glue. For glue, this is what I'm using. Clear Gorilla Glue to glue everything in. That's what I've seen recommended as well. So grab 2 bottles of that. So I'm gonna go ahead, get started, start pulling that last section. And then once we get that done, it'll be on to glue. Okay, so just a couple quick tips for you guys. When you're laying this out, what I've realized is it's best to start from the back corner of where your harness is coming from. So start in the back corner, lay your stuff across, and then work your way up. That way you're not trying to work under the stuff that you've already laid, because if you start poking holes up here, all your lines are going to be coming over top here. You're going to have a terrible time trying to work under here. So start from the back, work your way to the front from wherever your harness is. And then also, if you're having a tough time just pushing these through on the fabric, because you're gonna poke your hole through and the fabric's not gonna hold that hole, it's probably gonna close back up. Just take something and snip it on a 45 so it's a bit of a sharper angle, and it'll poke right through. Okay, so we got the last piece all poked through and done. Now we've started gluing already, as you can see. So basically, just give you guys a quick run through of what we've been doing. Just take the clear Gorilla Glue, find your hole. You're just gonna dab a little bit of glue over the top like this. Just make sure you seal it off. And it's pretty simple. You just follow that all the way through. Just like so. And you're done. We're gonna get this all glued up, and then we'll move on to snipping. I've got it hooked up to a little battery right now, and I'll give you guys a little look at what it looks like just with those not cut yet. Looks pretty crazy. I'm pretty excited to get them all cut flush and then see what it looks like on the underside. So what I'm gonna do now that all the glue is set, is I'm gonna take the headliner, I'm gonna flip it over, and then I'll start cutting all of our lines flush. So I'll go ahead, set the camera up, and then get to it. Okay, so we're flipped over. Now what we want to do is we're just going to trim these and cut them right flush with the headliner. You want to get it as tight as you can without actually clipping the headliner because it'll create little tufts in the fabric. But just clip it nice and tight to it. What I've got here, got a couple different pieces, but I'm going to use this guy right here. That way I can just hold it flush, clip it, move to the next, same thing. But I'll throw a time lapse on and see how much I can get done tonight before work tomorrow. Okay, so we're making a little progress here. It's not necessary to have the lights on. I'm just doing it because it looks fun and it keeps me motivated. But as I'm going along, what I'm doing is I'm just tug testing each one to make sure nothing's loose, make sure we didn't miss any on the glue, make sure everything like that is good, and then I'll just grab it, do my tug test real quick. Take these. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do one-handed, but run it right flush with the headliner. Flip it, done. On to the next one, over and over again. But it's looking pretty good so far. We've had a couple, one right here, a few right here that just didn't stick properly. I think there's one over here as well. So just make sure you're giving them all a good tug test before you cut them off short. And then obviously if they're not holding on well, or if you missed one, you can just re-glue it, let it sit while you do the rest of this, and then cut them at the end. So yeah. Alright guys, it's been a little bit since the last video, but our interior parts finally showed up. Mine are all painted now, so they're ready to go on. I'll show you a little look. No. I don't know if this is picking it up, but there's a ton of orange and blue flake that we added to the black. Just as a little extra touch, it looks pretty cool. But what I gotta do now, so now that these are all here, I gotta take these interior trim pieces for the roof and just install them on the headliner. So I've already got my handles all on. These center pieces on. All I gotta do left is the center light and this front piece. But what you guys are going to want to do is loom up the section of fiber optics that's going to be going up your pillar in the back. That way, when you turn the lights on, you're not going to see any light coming through or anything like that. It's all going to be covered and hidden. So I've gone ahead, loomed all that up. So what I got to do is I'll just finish getting the interior pieces on, and then we'll get ready to put it in the roof. I'll set up the camera. It's probably going to take two guys. I'll probably get my old man in here and he'll help me get it up there while I reset the wires, because we got to put all these wires back in, run them all properly. So we'll probably set it. Somebody will pull the wires, because there's one that goes to the third brake light, at least for my truck, and then one that goes to the center light, and then two wires run to this front. So yeah, we'll get that all set up, and then we'll be ready to rock and start setting her in there. Alright, so unfortunately the camera died while we were setting up the headliner and getting it up top, and I lost that footage. But it's pretty simple with extended cab. Four doors a little harder because you have a middle pillar, but all we did with mine is you just tilt it on an angle sideways, and you bring the back in first, and then you get it in, turn it to the back, and then you basically just spin the top around so it reaches the corners, push it up. Pretty straightforward. And then all you're gonna have to do, don't know if this is picking this up well, but basically just press it up like this. This is gonna clip in here, and I'll clip in my door or my roof handles and all that stuff. That side's already clipped in, as you can see. I've still got to get my centerpiece in. Lights are in. Make sure when you put this up that you run all of your wires before you press it. So make sure you take it. I ran my one wire back to the third brake light. I ran my one wire into the center, plugged it into the middle light, and then I made sure I ran all of the wires coming up this arm right to the center. As you can see, they're hanging down, so I can still install that piece. So that's all set. And then the plan is to pull this back this way, just so it runs down the back arm here. I'm looking at it, it might be a little tight with 1100 strands just because there's so many. So I might have to break it into little sections and run them down different sides of the pillar. But we'll see when I get there. Okay, so I realized how I'm gonna run this. Basically, I just took the top off of the piece that already comes on. You just screw this bottom piece off. Sorry. You gotta screw this top piece off of here first, then you screw the bottom piece off, and it basically just slides out. It's just a little clamp that holds them all together. There are excess ones that are just kind of sitting there. They're snapped. They're not the ones that are part of this. They're already broken off. They were just sitting inside, so don't get freaked out if you take it off and you have some pieces fall out. They're not shit that you're breaking. It's just old stuff that didn't get put in the full package. It got snipped off. But if you come here, I'm gonna take it down through this hole in the top and then through all the side panel down here and then bring it in behind the seat. So if I take that top off, it'll be able to fit through that metal panel and I'll be able to bring it all the way down. So just on the final step for installing the Starlights, obviously headliner's all in. This just has to get pushed up. I've ran all the strands down through the pillar here, back through the metal, into the box, which you can see under the seat here. The seat isn't actually sitting right now. Everything's just out of the way, so it's up in here. But you basically just plug it into your box, run the power all the way through. It's gonna run through your boards here. As you can see, the wires just all run through here. You'll pop up a little floorboard here. Then you can just run them all the way up and through your firewall. And then you'll come this way. I've got them right here. There's a third strand that's brown. You're not going to use the brown. The two wires that I got are blue and yellow. I just tested to figure out which was which. For some reason, they're spliced into that. But the blue is positive, the yellow is negative. All you're going to do is run these. You're going to put a little piece on so you can attach it to your battery. You're going to run the positive to the positive on your battery and the yellow to the negative on your battery. And simple as that, you'll have power to the back, and then you'll be able to control everything from the Bluetooth app on your phone. So that pretty well sums up the installation video. I hope it helped everybody. But yeah, everything's pretty well wrapped up. I'll show you guys the final look. It's still a little light out, so you're not going to see it as well, but it looks amazing. Like, I'm stoked for the first night drive taking her out. They did a great job on this kit. And I'm really happy with the installation. Like, everything's done perfectly, so yeah. Thanks for watching.